Well, hello. I'm here with Caitlin and Doug to talk about Swifties for Trump and other things, but that's clearly the most important thing, so let's start with that.
Yeah, so let's talk about Swifties for Trump. So this is bad. This is really, really bad. I can't believe Trump would do this. So I'm looking at this article from the New Republic by Hafiz Rashid. And so what Donald Trump did is create a whole bunch of fake AI images, and here they are. See if I can't blow them up a bit more for you. Um, a whole bunch of these fake AI images. Oh, and my face is in the way. I will get rid of that. Um, these fake AI images of Swifties who are saying, we're for Trump, but these are all fake images. And Donald Trump says, I accept. He doesn't say that this is fake or anything like that. Um, but they are fake. In fact, Taylor Swift is very much on the liberal side of things, would never support Trump. And so this is sort of the first example that I can think of a mainstream politician just making up fake news using artificial intelligence images to like change political opinions. And what's really upsetting about this is that it's Donald Trump essentially taking Taylor Swift and saying she's going to support me and I'm going to make these images so it looks like she supports me. Well, that's not how consent works. And I'm not surprised that of all the politicians, Donald Trump would do this. But I am disappointed because you should not be using generative AI like this to circumvent consent in any way. So,
Well, I think it's kind of inevitable, and I think there have been dirty tricks like this forever, uh,
Yeah.
but just without the AI. And by the way, I'm sure there are Swift fans that support Trump. There probably are people that would wear that T-shirt. It's a big group. Anyway,
true, but there's an image in there of Taylor Swift herself saying.
of course. Well, I was inclined to laugh these things off and say they're obviously fake. And then I heard an interview where they interviewed someone and they said, Kamala denied that she was black. She claimed to be Indian, and she never did that. And they said, we tried arguing with her, and there's no convincing her otherwise. So there's a bunch of people that just believe any lie Trump says, no matter how absurd. So I
Yeah,
guess
and
it's not right to disregard this stuff.
well, I mean, it's also doubly ironic because Trump is all about the fake news. And what
Yeah.
does he post? Fake,
Well,
literally like fake images. Yeah.
Well, the logical solution for this would be for Taylor Swift to actually endorse Kamala, and she might. They're talking about she might show up at the DNC. So she hasn't officially endorsed Kamala. She's generally liberal, but she hasn't taken a position this time yet, and she could. And if she did, she could do it at the DNC, and boy, that would reverse this in a hurry.
Oh, it totally would.
But
Oh, but then they'd say it's a conspiracy.
it would be a conspiracy, but that's what's called politics. You get people on your team, and they all pull the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, but not a secret conspiracy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got a similar story of demented politics. There's a candidate in Wyoming running for office on the grounds that he's going to be an AI. He's not going to make any decisions. He's just going to type every question into ChatGPT and do what it says. And so he's doing interviews in this fashion, and he's running his campaign in this fashion. It sounds like he's not a serious candidate, though. So he probably isn't going to win. So that's kind of annoying because it would be interesting to see what this does in somebody else's town, not my town. But anyway, like I say, it shows a very common misunderstanding of how stupid these AIs are, that you would actually let it do something like that. In fact, it's in the OWASP top 10, excessive agency, when you let an AI have too much power over things without understanding how stupid and wrong it is. But anyway, that would be our robot overlords taking over. And what have you got, Doug?
Interesting. All right. So this has been floating around the news recently that on the dark web that everyone's quote unquote social security number has been breached and is for sale on the dark web. Some story or variation of that. Caitlin, have you heard about this?
I have
Oh,
heard about it. Yeah, I was on mute. I have heard about it.
okay.
Yes. In fact, there's a website you can go to see if your social security number is part of the leak, but I don't have it on me right now. So
Yeah. Sam, do you have it? I don't.
But this
Off
is
the
the
top of my
three.
head.
This is the like 3 billion record leak, right? Recent.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from National Public Data, I think.
Yeah. Now, does national public data exist?
Oh yeah, it's just one of the data brokers.
Okay.
There are a few of
So,
these companies that just sell your data, and they have vast stores of data,
yeah. Yeah.
and they
So
lost.
the question now becomes, are there really 3 billion, or wait, 3 million
Three
billion?
billion, 3 billion records.
Yeah, 3 billion records. Sorry, just wanted to do a fact check there. That nobody has verified the 3 billion records, and it's going to be nearly impossible to do so. So there have been some credible security researchers that have done some research. They've typed in their email address and they've said, yes, this is a match. And I verify at least my information in there is there. But other people have typed in their email address and it's a mishmash of incorrect information or totally bogus information. So there's a shred of truth to this, but there's also, it could go either way. So it's highly unlikely that there's 3 billion, but some of it is accurate. It's true with most data breaches. Sometimes you miss a line when you grab data or,
Oh, well, they're usually just a accumulation of data from many different breaches, some real
yeah,
and some fake, just all mixed together.
yeah. And they combine them together and
Yeah.
cross-reference, and sometimes it's incorrect and fields are off and you get what you get.
Yeah.
So the question is, what are we doing about it? And I think the answer is we're waiting to see.
Well, what can you do? I mean, every time
Yeah,
there's a breach, somebody might give you credit monitoring, which is almost worthless. And then what
right.
can you do? Uh,
Yeah, you get it for 3 months.
or a year or something. And
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
And the best thing to do is freeze your credit, right? We talked about this.
Yeah, so this is interesting because this was brought up too. There's freezing your credit and putting a lock on your credit. And there is a legal difference between the two. The legal term, what you want to do is not lock your credit, but freeze it. That has a specific legal definition, and freezing is what you want to do, not locking. So I'm making a big deal out of that, so you know to freeze, not lock.
Okay, good. I'm glad you know. That's I think the only thing a consumer can do.
Yeah,
And the fact
yeah,
is, it's probably fair to just assume that your data has leaked. So many records have leaked. Probably your data has leaked several times by now from all these breaches.
I would agree. Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
part I thought was interesting about this story that Brian Krebs had is the reason they lost all this data is because they just took all the necessary passwords and put them in a zip file and left it on a public server. So you could just download the passwords and get right in. So it's like the number one way this kind of data got stolen for years was SQL injection. But for the last several years, the number one way data gets stolen is Amazon EC2 buckets because they're world readable by default and people don't know that. So they just put their data on a public server available to anybody with no password or anything without realizing it. And that's so it is I've heard some pen testers get frustrated like this, the way detectives get frustrated how stupid criminals are. Here I learn all these complicated techniques, and people just leave the door open. Most of the big breaches seem to happen from just complete stupidity, where they just left an obvious door open, like a default password or something.
right. Yeah,
I've heard defense consultants say, people buy these complicated honeypots and stuff, and if you would just change the default passwords and put on the updates, that would do a lot more good than all the
yeah,
fancy stuff you can buy.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. The
always
simple
security
stuff.
101 level stuff. A ransomware expert said this is how ransomware always gets in. It's always a security 101 error, like a default password or an open share or something.
Yeah.
It's real hard to get people to do the simple things. The whole medical community knows this. You should not smoke. You should get some exercise. And then people just smoke. Then they get sick and you're like, well, we told you. And you just didn't do this
Yeah,
obvious thing you needed to do.
yeah, yeah. All right, you got another one for us, Caitlin?
I certainly do. In fact, I have a fantastic one. So let's move on over to Ars Technica, and this is by Dan Godin, who has been mentioned on this
Yeah,
podcast many times before. And there is, I should say, a Windows 0 day being exploited by North Korea. And this is going around right now. It's a CVE 2024 38193. And let's see what comes up here. Function driver, yeah, Windsock privilege vulnerability. Now, as far as I can tell, this is actually a kind of a misnomer. I think it's using something to do with app locker to gain privileges. But anyway, the point is they have a 0 day, which is North Korea. North Korea has a 0 day, and they're throwing on their malware, which I forget what it's called. That's the FUD module, I think. But they're using, this advanced 0 day. We were just talking about how most criminals get in through the easy backdoors. Well, North Korea found a way to essentially get in the hard way. Now, I don't believe that this is a network level vulnerability. I think they do need some initial access. I think this is strictly a privilege escalation tactic, but it does essentially allow North Korea to install system level malware. So not good.
Yep. So they would start out by tricking you with phishing or something.
I would assume so. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of information about this. We know that it is a use after free bug in afd.sys. And let's see, what is afd.sys? Which is a system driver, by the way. So this is a driver bug. afd.sys.
It would have to be a driver bug to get in the kernel.
Yeah. Auxiliary function driver for Windsock. Oh, so it is a Windsock thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some bug in Windsock that allows them to get. Oh, so maybe this is remote. I don't know. This is really confusing. There's not a whole lot of information, but it is use after free. It just says give system privileges, maximum system rights. So I assume it is privilege escalation and not like the next Bluekeep or anything like that.
And there's patch, right? If you update your Windows, you're protected.
Yeah. Yeah. Update Windows. Do it.
Or quit using Windows.
That works too.
All right. Well, I've got one which is pretty amazing. It's on Risky Biz News, has a good write-up article about it. Chinese MyFair Classic cards, one of the brands. These are the standard cards used by BART and all over the place. The standard key cards people use. The government uses them. All kinds of people use them. And it turns out that one of the brands, Fudan, has had a secret backdoor in it for years, back to the 90s. And it's just a secret backdoor that's like a 12-character hexadecimal string, and it lets you in every supposedly locked door and appears to be intentional. Now, I know Cisco got busted many times for putting in backdoor maintenance accounts, which was a standard practice at one time, but this seems to be deliberate and pretty appalling. I mean, when you buy key cards, you want to use them. This is like what happened to RSA. You buy these tokens to make things secure, but there was a secret backdoor in. Now, in RSA, China had to hack their central servers to steal the secret from the RSA servers. But in this case, a reverse engineer just found it and he's published it. It's just a long letter string starting with a particular string, depending on a few different versions of it, depending on which version of the card you have. So that's pretty appalling. And I think just like after the RSA breach, this would mean that whole large corporations and government agencies are all going to have to reissue all these cards. I think they have to, because not only is there a secret backdoor, but it's now public knowledge. So anybody can just go right into anybody's door that's supposedly protected by these things. That's pretty awful.
So hold on.
Yeah.
How does this work? So is the backdoor like an authorization decryption mechanism for like MyFair?
I think it is. It relies on a shared secret, and it's the shared secret. So you can.
I know. Yeah, I know there's a lot of like door unlock systems.
Yeah.
That have these like default passwords, and people don't change them.
Yeah.
But it's basic. But if you know it, you can basically decrypt the card.
Right.
The thing is that the locks and the cards should be separate. Like you shouldn't be able to teach a link to the card to unlock every door unless you know the exact code that it's looking for.
Yeah, this is called the Universal Backdoor Authentication Key.
Yeah. So you might be able to authenticate to the key, read the data, decrypt the data, and then clone the card.
Yeah, it does not go into the detail of
Yeah.
exactly how you use this, but apparently it's the secret which breaks the security.
Yep. Very good. Very good. I look forward to seeing it in Proxmark.
Well, it's not even a virtual machine or anything. It's just a key, but I'm sure you
No,
could.
Proxmark is um
Oh,
the thing that reads the cards.
oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, let's go on to Doug. You've got a Tesla story, eh?
Yeah, this is interesting. There are two companies that were working on semi trucks to use alternate energy sources. One was Elon Musk, and it's his semi trucks, EV trucks. And the other was Trevor Milton with a company called Nikola. And he wound up like Elizabeth Holmes in federal prison because his was a complete scam. And his company, Nikola Trucks, has continued on, but I believe they're on the verge of bankruptcy.
Is he the guy that faked the video with the truck going downhill? Yeah. Okay.
And he also he bought off the shelf components, covered over the serial numbers with duct tape, and then spray painted it with silver paint.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't touch it, but you could see that it was a product and duct tape, and he poorly masked it. Anyway, Mr. Milton, I believe, is still in prison, but I bring that up because there are two competitors here. But yesterday there was a Tesla semi truck on I-80 between north of Sacramento on I-80 on the way to Reno, or going Lake Tahoe, Reno direction, that caught on fire at 3 a.m. And it's got the batteries that you spray water on that you cannot extinguish because they're self-generating oxygen, which fuels the fire. So they had both portions of Highway 880 closed for at least 12 hours, if not longer.
I've heard this about Teslas. They say there's no way to put them out. They say most effective way to put them out is to get a backhoe, dig a hole, stick it in the hole, and fill the hole with water.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is a semi rig. And, Tesla also had an issue with their batteries in Australia, where there's a city there where they have these mega battery packs to have the city so it wouldn't have any blackouts. One of those mega battery packs caught on fire, which burned for 3 days, 5 days continually.
Yeah.
And there was nothing really they could do except let it extinguish itself.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of environmental harm from that too.
And yeah, yeah. And, Sam, from a physics point of view, we talk about the fire here. Why can't you extinguish it? And the amount of energy that's stored in there is very high. It's very great, which allows you to power a car or a city. And it just has to burn out or come to a equilibrium state, or a zero energy state, if you will, however you want to define that.
Well, you have to deny one of the essential components. And the problem is, like you say, it doesn't really need air. So
Right.
just covering it with water is not enough. You'd have
Yeah.
to have something, refrigerate and cool it down or something. It's the things are pretty dangerous.
Well, yeah, but that's why they store so much energy, right?
Yeah.
It's like gasoline.
Yeah. I mean, what
It's-
else are you going to do? You could have a big tank of
yeah,
hydrogen. That wouldn't
yeah,
really be a whole lot safer. What are you going to do?
yep, exactly. So, it's interesting as we talk about EVs and other sources of energy like hydrogen and gasoline and nuclear fuel. It's the amount of energy that's stored in those compounds and those elements, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was amazing. There was when Trump was interviewed by Elon Musk on Twitter, they talked about the environment and they said, oh, there's nothing to worry about global warming. That won't matter for hundreds of years or something. So Elon doesn't seem to understand that global warming is important anymore. Whereas it used to be his bragging point, I'm a leftist, I'm saving the world by making these electric cars. Now, of course, he seems to be part of his red pill, seems to be now denying about global warming too.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
It's interesting psychology. This is something I've read. Very simple people say, it's very hard to persuade a man of something when his paycheck depends on believing the other thing. So apparently, if someone offers you money and power, it's easy to have a total conversion over to the red pill side.
So, Sam, I got a question for you. This is kind of hypothetical. I've heard nobody discuss this. This is something that I just came up on my own. Let's say that we switch to hydrogen fuel.
Yeah.
And let's say, as many people have suggested, that we do that by hydrolyzing water
Yeah.
into into oxygen, into hydrogen.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we do with the oxygen?
Well, I haven't heard anyone discuss it.
Well, that's why I'm asking. So would we release that into the atmosphere
I would assume so. Yeah.
while we consume the hydrogen in the car or the vehicle?
Well, when you burn the hydrogen in the car, it needs to recombine with oxygen to go back into water. So I think
But if you're burning, yeah. So let me tell you, that's not a solution either, because if you burn the hydrogen in a car in a internal combustion engine,
yeah.
you're also mixing in gases, nitrogen, and there's some sulfur that'll get in there, and you're not really solving the pollution problem.
Oh, I think you are. I think the pollution is much less than burning.
No,
It's not.
no, no. Because think about it, you're still taking in atmospheric air,
Yeah.
which contains nitrogen, and it also contains oxygen as well. But when you burn those, you put them under high compression, and you burn those using hydrogen or gasoline, you still come up with nitrous oxides.
Well, okay, that's why I'd have to see a study.
Yeah.
You come up with
Okay.
different pollutants than you do with gas, and you have to see which one is more harmful. I don't know the answer. I assumed hydrogen would be cleaner, but I really don't know.
Yeah, there's going to be far less carbon type outputs in a
Yeah,
hydrogen-based.
there'd be
Yeah.
less carbon, but there'd probably
Well,
be
there's no carbon.
there'd probably be more nitrogen oxide. You're right, and so
Yeah.
that might be even worse. I don't know. You'd have to find out.
So it's my understanding that it's comparable, because you have the same high temperature, you have the same nitrogen mixture, if you will, as well as gasoline.
Well,
But
the electric cars don't solve any of this because you have to generate the electricity using one of these other techniques.
yeah, yeah. So the other way you can get around this is by using a fuel cell. And a fuel cell, there's no combustion, so to speak, involved. It's more of a chemistry reaction than a combustion reaction. And you're moving around protons and electrons.
Yep, and if you generate the power with nuclear power, then you create no particular atmospheric pollution. Although you
Yeah,
end up polluting the water supply when you get hit with a tornado or something. But
true, true.
yeah,
So
That's why we need nuclear fusion powered cars. I
Yeah.
mean, Back to the Future had it down
Mr.
pat.
Fusion. Yeah,
We
Mr.
need Mr.
Fusion.
Fusion. Yeah.
Yeah, that would
well,
be
Ford had the idea in the 1950s with their Fusion car. It was a concept car that was never built, but it was spec'd out. You can look at that in
Yeah.
Wikipedia. It was supposed to go 5,000 miles, if I recall, with a single charge, if you will.
Well, cold fusion's been something that comes back every decade or so, just like eternal life. It's this great thing if we could only do it.
All right, so so this Tesla truck, we're still figuring this out. And for those who are saying, "Oh, that points to EV vehicles are so unsafe," if you go back to the 20s, 30s, we had the same issue with gasoline cars.
Well, it's no fun when gasoline cars catch on fire either.
Yep, yep, yep.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So
All right, Caitlin, you have another story for us.
I do. This one's a little sad.
Uh-oh.
So let's see if I can't operate my computer here. Okay. So PM P PMYMNTS PIMS has this article about tech layoffs, and it is apparently has gone up to 132,000 people laid off in tech so far in 2024. We're not talking about this so much anymore after the Google and Amazon layoffs, but other businesses like Cisco are also laying off workers still. And it has the number of workers who have lost their jobs this year is, as I mentioned, 132,000. And it's going to get worse before the end of the year. So, I mean, this is bad. People are just not, I guess companies we're not expecting the profits that they ended up getting. Like they're still making money, but it's not as much. So Intel, Cisco, and a few others are just cutting employees left and right. And this can't be good for the industry or the mental health of the people that have been laid off. So
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right. This is I think a short-sighted procedure that is not justified by business analysis.
no, all this does is one, if you lay off some of your talented people, they're gonna get snatched up with all your secrets and all your techniques to the other companies.
Yeah.
You're destroying their mental health. It's not good for the employees. And you're not gaining trust. So and the employees that are left are now fearful about losing their jobs. I mean, it's very short-sighted. It is very much we want profits for the next quarter at the expense of profits and productivity over the next few years.
Yeah, and this
Yeah,
seems
but
to be
that,
a real pattern. Like, for example, socialized medicine would save a lot of money compared to letting people get sick and having to treat them when they're much sicker. It's we often choose the short-term profit over the long-term profit in America. It's a problem with our culture.
Absolutely.
What were you saying, Doug?
well, I was going to say, this is Wall Street and it's profits first.
Right. And quarter by quarter.
Yeah, and quarter by quarter.
Yeah.
Right.
America's still a tech leader and, military leader and stuff, but in our society is unnecessarily cruel and ruthless in ways to an extreme, I think comes from our Puritan origins, where anybody that does a bad thing should just be left to suffer, as opposed to a sort of more European attitude that you should just take care of people and accept the fact that people have good times and bad times.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. Anyway, I was amazed by this one. A lot of people have been, the TikTok ban came largely from two arguments. The first one is that China is going to get our data and use it, which is ridiculous because, as we said, data brokers have all your data anyway, and they're just throwing it on the floor and losing it. But the other one was that they're going to use it to have propaganda, political propaganda, hidden in all those TikTok videos of people dancing around and stuff. And Scott Galloway always pushed this one, saying, I'm sure China is putting political propaganda in there. They'd be stupid not to. So these people did a test. There's a report from the NCRI, Network Contagion Research Institute, actually tested people's opinions towards China and how it correlates with use of TikTok and found that they do have much more positive feelings about the Chinese Central Party the more they use TikTok. So that would apparently suggest that this is true. I was laughing this off as a ridiculous idea, but they have at least this degree of evidence that it's true that TikTok has enough pro-Chinese communist propaganda that it sways people. Of course, there may be other explanations, but it's an argument on the side that is true. So maybe it's correct that American companies are banning TikTok in this regard.
So, Sam, I heard a comment made or a story made that the ban on TikTok was by Meta and Instagram.
Well, of course, yes, those American
Yeah.
companies would love it. But yeah, we'll see.
So there, what I'm getting at is there were a lot of conspiracies started that originated from Meta and other companies, and the goal was to get it banned.
Well, of course, another statement is it's not like getting rid of TikTok ends the propaganda. There's plenty of
Right.
propaganda on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and plenty of foreign organized propaganda. They caught Iranian groups doing it and Russian groups doing it.
Yeah.
But TikTok would presumably be a little more effective. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the problem with all social networks, all social media. But anyway, TikTok is banned for a lot of people in America. All right, what are these things, Caitlin?
I don't know, but I love them. Zoom just got an update, and so we get cat emojis everywhere.
Is that Zoom or is it OBS?
Zoom.
Zoom. Yeah. Well, yeah, Zoom keeps adding stupid stuff. I mean, I remember we tried the AI a few weeks ago and it really worked pretty well to summarize a meeting.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely ridiculous what they want to do with Zoom, where like you can not attend a meeting and have like your virtual avatar. Like,
Yeah.
are they trying to go out of business as a, business conferencing software? I mean,
I think there's a large demand for that. I think pretty soon we'll just have AIs attend all the meetings. I don't know if I'd mind that. Remember, it's not so bad now, but years ago when I worked in corporations, they had all these boring meetings that were totally useless. It's certainly that way at the college. At the college, we have faculty meetings that are 2 hours long and could easily be 10 minutes long if they actually did the business.
well, when I had to go to a boring meeting, I did it the hard way. I got a cardboard cutout of me and stuck it in front of a camera like a proper American.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Remember one time you can make a video and use it as your background. And I did that one time, I made a video of me. And then when I really sit there, there's like two of me. Anyway. All right. Well, anyway, I think that's all the news. So that's it for this one. And we'll have another one on Friday.
Yep. That's it for me too.
Okay, good.